For centuries, the Galactic Senate watched Earth from a distance, intrigued by its absence from the Council. The galaxy's most powerful species and civilizations had long debated humanity's role. Some saw the Earthlings as insignificant, while others feared what they couldn't understand. There were whispers, rumors of a planet that had stood silent in the galaxy's most crucial meetings, refusing to submit to the ever-growing demands of the galactic elite. They thought it was a sign of weakness. They were wrong. The day Earth's seat was finally filled, the Senate expected nothing more than a formality, a simple introduction of a species they had long dismissed. Instead, they got a shock that would reverberate through the galaxy for generations to come. The Earth delegation didn't come with grand displays of power or weapons of mass destruction. They brought something far more dangerous: humanity's indomitable will. The Senate had underestimated the humans' ability to survive and innovate under impossible odds. For years, Earth had stood on the brink of annihilation, crushed by alien invasions, environmental disasters, and internal conflict. Yet, time and again, humanity had found a way to rebuild, adapt, and rise stronger. It wasn't their military might or advanced technology that had earned Earth's place at the table. It was their resilience, their ability to endure when everything seemed lost. The delegation that arrived on the Senate's doorstep wasn't a fleet of warships or a squad of elite soldiers. It was a group of brilliant minds and tactical thinkers, scientists and engineers, led by one human who carried with him the weight of an entire species' survival. A single figure, seemingly unassuming, yet brimming with the quiet confidence that had made humanity the last species standing when others had fallen. The Senate's reaction was swift. An uneasy silence swept the chamber. Some were skeptical. Others were afraid. The room buzzed with uncertainty, but the human representative stood calmly, unaffected by the weight of the room. "We've been watching you," he said, his voice steady, "and we've been waiting." But it wasn't until the human unveiled a single piece of technology that the Senate truly understood the mistake they had made. It wasn't just a weapon, it was a marvel of ingenuity, something that no alien species could have conceived of. The Senate had believed humanity weak, primitive even. But this was something else entirely. As murmurs rippled through the chamber, a sudden realization dawned: humanity had been hiding in plain sight. Earth hadn't needed to join the Galactic Senate before, because it was a force unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, a force that didn't rely on the traditions or power struggles of the Senate, but on its own will to survive, to evolve, and to fight. And then, just as the first tremors of panic spread, the human representative dropped the final bombshell: Earth wasn't just joining the Senate. Earth had come to take its seat at the head of the table. The room fell silent. The stakes had just changed forever. As the human representative's words hung in the air, a palpable sense of unease spread throughout the Senate. The delegation's leader, a figure known only as Drake, stood motionless, his gaze sweeping across the room. The ancient, towering beings who had ruled the galaxy for eons had never seen anything like him. His calm demeanor was unsettling. It didn't match the threat they were now grappling with. There was no grand military display, no endless fleets of ships threatening to blot out the stars. Instead, Earth's power was far subtler, calculated. Drake had no fear. His people had endured too much to be intimidated by anything now. But behind his eyes, there was something more, something dangerous, that even the galaxy's most experienced politicians couldn't quite pinpoint. A fire that never went out. The kind of fire that, once kindled, could burn everything in its path. As the Senate members shifted uncomfortably in their seats, one of the elder senators, a being from a species that had existed longer than most of the galaxy's empires, spoke up. "You claim Earth has earned its place at the table, but what makes you think we'll simply accept that? What gives you the right to demand?" Drake interrupted him, his voice low but unwavering. "You don't understand yet, do you? Humanity didn't ask for permission. We never needed to. We've fought our way to this moment, not through conquest, but through survival. We've been tested by the worst the universe can throw at us, and we've come out stronger every single time." The chamber fell into an uneasy silence. For the first time, the Senate's members were forced to reckon with the truth they had long ignored. Humanity's resilience was unlike anything they had encountered. But there was still so much they didn't know. What had they truly been hiding all these years? And what exactly was the purpose of that strange technology Drake had brought with him? The technology was a mystery in itself. It wasn't just advanced, it seemed almost ancient. It had traces of design that the Senate couldn't identify, a fusion of organic and synthetic elements that defied all logic. A sleek, almost living device that hummed with energy. Some senators began to exchange uneasy glances, speculating that it might be a relic from some lost, forgotten part of humanity's past. But Drake wasn't about to reveal its secrets just yet. As the days went on, rumors began to spread across the galaxy, whispers of Earth's unspoken power, of a technology that could change the balance of everything. The factions of the Senate, each with its own motives, alliances, and rivalries, became increasingly divided. Some argued that Earth should be welcomed with open arms, seeing in it a potential ally that could tip the scales in the endless games of galactic politics. Others, however, grew suspicious. If Earth truly possessed the kind of power that Drake hinted at. Among these factions, one in particular began to take an interest in Drake's history. A clandestine group within the Senate, known as the Purists, had been watching Earth for years. They were an alliance of species who believed that the galaxy's true power should remain in the hands of the oldest civilizations, those who had mastered the stars long before humanity had even discovered fire. The Purists saw Earth as a threat to their way of life, and their leader, a calculating figure known as Zorath, was already devising plans to discredit Drake and his people. But as the political intrigue deepened, another, more unsettling truth began to emerge. Drake was not just a representative of Earth, he was part of something far bigger, something more secretive and powerful. He had once been a soldier in a covert human operation, a warrior in a war fought in the shadows of the galaxy, long before the Senate had even noticed Earth's presence. And what he had brought with him wasn't just a weapon or a piece of technology, it was a message that only the Senate was just beginning to understand, but one that, if fully revealed, would change the course of history forever. The tension in the Senate chambers reached a boiling point as Zorath, leader of the Purists, stood up abruptly. His eyes locked onto Drake with an intensity that could scorch the stars. "Enough games," he declared, his voice sharp and filled with venom. "We have heard your claims, human, but your actions speak louder. You bring with you nothing but secrets, wrapped in mystery and threat. What are you hiding?" Drake remained unfazed, his eyes cold but unwavering. "I'm not here to play your games, Zorath. I'm here to show you the truth. The truth about humanity." At that moment, the quiet hum of the strange device Drake had unveiled began to grow louder, almost vibrating the very walls of the chamber. The senators shifted nervously, their hands instinctively reaching for weapons or controls that weren't quite there. Something was happening, something beyond their comprehension. For all their advancements, none of them had ever encountered anything like this before. Drake's voice broke through the rising unease. "This device doesn't just change the rules of war. It changes the rules of power itself. And you, Zorath, are about to find out what happens when you push humanity too far." The room fell into stunned silence as the hum intensified, the lights flickering ominously above. Something was stirring within the device, a force neither organic nor mechanical, but something altogether different, something alive. The senators exchanged glances, fear creeping into their expressions. Was it a weapon? Was Earth's hidden power as destructive as they had feared? Or was it something even more dangerous, a force that threatened their very existence? Zorath's face twisted with disbelief. You would endanger us all for your own purposes?" Drake shook his head, his voice firm. "I'm not here to threaten you. I'm here to offer you a choice. A choice to either accept humanity as an equal or continue down your path of oppression. This device? It's not just for show. It's a signal. A signal to those who have been waiting in the shadows for far longer than you can imagine." A murmur of confusion rippled through the chamber. Who could he possibly be referring to? What was he signaling? The Senate had long believed themselves the top of the food chain, the final arbiters of power in the galaxy. The idea that something was waiting for humanity to act, to rise up, was almost too much to comprehend. And then, without warning, the hum stopped. For a moment, everything was still. And then, without explanation, the holographic display around the Senate chamber flickered. The image of a massive fleet appeared, one that had been hidden from the eyes of the Senate for centuries. Ships, unlike any they had ever seen, black as the void itself, pulsed with an energy that felt almost alive. They were cloaked, concealed in the darkest reaches of space, waiting for the signal. Drake's hand raised slowly, and the image shimmered again. A fleet, an armada of humans, not as a distant threat, but as an imminent reality. The room erupted in chaos. Zoreth's voice was barely audible over the panic. "What is this? Who are they?" Drake didn't flinch. "They are humanity's true allies. And they've been watching for as long as we have." The senators, now visibly shaken, were torn between confusion and terror. It wasn't just Earth that had been hidden, it was something far older, something even the Senate had never heard of. The implications were massive. If this new alliance was as powerful as Drake suggested, the Senate would be reduced to nothing more than a puppet in a far grander game. The galaxy was shifting beneath their feet. But the revelations didn't stop there. As the holograms began to fade, a voice familiar yet distant echoed through the chamber, speaking in a language only Drake seemed to understand. It was an ancient dialect, a lost language that, until now, had been thought to be extinct. The voice was strong, commanding, and yet eerily calm. "It is time to remind the galaxy that the true power lies in the hands of those who have endured." The voice stopped. Drake's expression darkened, and for the first time, something flickered in his eyes, something much deeper than simple defiance. "The war," he said softly, almost to himself, "isn't over. It's just beginning." In that instant, the Senate realized they were facing something far more complex than a simple power struggle. Humanity, it seemed, was not the underdog they had assumed. They were the wild card, the unpredictable force that could tip the entire balance of the galaxy, and that, as the Senate learned too late, was a force they had underestimated. The chaos in the Senate chamber only deepened as the implications of Drake's words sank in. The fleet of black ships continued to hover ominously in the background, their presence a constant reminder of the power humanity had been hiding. Zoreth's hands clenched, his eyes darting across the room, calculating, scheming. But even his cold, calculating mind couldn't wrap itself around the full extent of what was unfolding. The voice from the hologram echoed again, more forceful this time, as if it were speaking directly to each senator's soul. "This is no longer a choice, Zoreth. The galaxy's fate has been sealed. The balance has shifted, and humanity is the axis upon which the future will turn." For a moment, there was nothing but stunned silence. Zoreth's face turned pale as the truth began to dawn on him. Earth wasn't here to ask for a seat at the table. They were here to take control of it. The galaxy, for all its might, its ancient civilizations, and its armies of highly advanced species, had failed to realize that humanity had been playing a far longer game. And now, the pieces had finally fallen into place. Drake raised his hand again, and the once hidden fleet of ships began to shift position. They were now fully visible, and the enormity of their scale became clear. Each vessel seemed to pulse with the same eerie energy that had been emitted by the device Drake had brought to the Senate. It wasn't just advanced technology. It was something more, a manifestation of human will, of ingenuity, of survival. Every step humanity has taken in the shadows, every moment we've been dismissed, underestimated, ignored, this is what has brought us here, Drake said, his voice calm but resonating with a power that could not be ignored. "We are not your equals, Zoreth. We are your new masters." Zoreth opened his mouth to protest, to call for an uprising or an immediate countermeasure, but the words caught in his throat. He understood too late that this was no empty threat. The Senate had thought they were the ones with the power. But the truth was far more terrifying. Humanity's greatest strength was its ability to adapt, to endure, to grow stronger when faced with extinction. Suddenly, the room's lights flickered one last time, and the image of the fleet was replaced with something even more shocking. A vast, ancient archive buried deep within the heart of Earth's greatest cities began to unfold on the holographic screens. This wasn't just a technological marvel, it was a record of humanity's evolution, its greatest triumphs, and its darkest secrets. The galaxy's oldest and most powerful species had underestimated humanity not because of its technology, but because of its hidden history, a history that had been buried by the very beings now sitting in the Senate. Humanity had once been part of something far greater than the Galactic Senate could fathom, a civilization that had spanned the stars long before the Senate had even been formed. The ships you see, Drake continued, are only the beginning. Humanity's legacy is far more than you could ever have imagined. The galaxy's oldest secrets are now ours to uncover, and they are more than capable of turning the tides in our favor. At this, the chamber was filled with murmurs and gasps. The purists, the so-called protectors of galactic tradition, now found themselves trapped in a web they couldn't escape. Their empire, built on centuries of control, was nothing more than a house of cards waiting to fall. But the final twist came when the mysterious voice, the one that had spoken from the darkness, was revealed. It wasn't an alien race or some ancient power from the edges of the galaxy. It was humanity's forgotten ancestors, a long-lost faction of humans who had ascended to the stars and seeded countless civilizations, now returning to claim their rightful place. They were Earth's true allies, the ones who had watched from afar, waiting for humanity to awaken from its slumber. And as the Senate realized the true extent of what had been set in motion, they were left with only one choice: bow to the undeniable rise of humanity or face their inevitable downfall. As the galaxy braced for the aftermath, one thing became clear. Earth had not just earned a seat at the table, it was now the one holding the keys to the galaxy's future. The Senate had made a grave mistake in underestimating humanity. Now, it was humanity's time to rise, and nothing would stop them from taking their place at the top.